He pushed the door carefully and stepped into the dark hallway. Dust covered the floor, and the air inside felt cold and still. His flashlight revealed old furniture and faded photographs on the walls. The interior looked untouched, as if no one had entered for years. Then Daniel noticed someone sitting quietly in a chair across the room. It was an elderly man who appeared completely motionless. Daniel approached slowly and realized the man was no longer alive. There were no clear signs of struggle or forced entry in the room. However, the expression on the man's face looked strangely frightened. Daniel carefully began examining the room for anything unusual.
On a quiet autumn evening, Detective Daniel Hayes was finishing his paperwork inside the downtown police station. Outside the building, the streets were wet from a light rain, and the city looked unusually calm. Daniel planned to return home early that night and enjoy a quiet evening after a long shift. Just as he reached for his coat, the office phone rang with a new report. A patrol officer mentioned something unusual inside an old house on Riverside Street. The house had been empty for many years and rarely attracted attention. Daniel decided to investigate the report himself before ending his shift. When he arrived, a police car was already parked quietly near the sidewalk. The neighborhood felt silent, and only the distant sound of rain filled the air. Daniel walked slowly toward the house and noticed the front door was slightly open. On a nearby table, he discovered a broken photo frame. Inside the frame was an old photograph of the same man. Standing beside him in the photograph was a young boy. The boy's face looked serious and unfamiliar. Later, Daniel asked neighbors about the photograph. None of them remembered a child living in that house. This discovery made the situation even more confusing. Official records showed the house had been abandoned for many years, yet the photograph appeared surprisingly recent. Daniel returned to the house to study the picture more carefully.
Under the light, he noticed something unusual behind the man. A faint shadow appeared near the back of the photograph. The shape looked almost like the outline of a child. Daniel blinked and examined the photograph again. The shadow now seemed slightly clearer than before. At that moment, he heard a quiet sound somewhere behind him. Daniel turned quickly toward the dark hallway. But the hallway remained completely empty and silent. When he looked back at the photograph again, the shadow had disappeared. Later that night, Daniel quietly closed the investigation file, realizing some mysteries remain unanswered.